Discover how one elderly woman's simple question revealed an unexpected act of amazing kindness. Martha sat on her porch swing, the sun casting a warm glow over her quiet corner of Maplewood. The life she once knew, filled with laughter and companionship, had dimmed since her husband passed away. Days rolled on like a long, unending shadow, aching with the silence of an empty home. The vibrant colors of her once bustling life faded into muted grays, especially since her children had sought futures away from their hometown. Her heart longed for connection, a flicker of companionship in the mundane, and her attention turned to the young woman next door. Sarah, a single mother, struggled with the weight of her own burdens. Martha watched as she hurriedly balanced grocery bags and two rambunctious children, their laughter mingling with Sarah's tired sighs. A pang of empathy twisted in Martha's chest. She grappled with the loneliness of her own existence and the palpable tension etched across Sarah's brow. Steeling herself, Martha knew she had to break the silence. "What do you love to do when life feels overwhelming?" she asked, tentative and unsure. The question hung in the air like a delicate thread, stretching across the divide between their lives. To Martha's surprise, Sarah's eyes lit up, revealing dreams of education, of a brighter tomorrow for her children. The moment ignited something in Martha, a spark that flickered through her grief, reminding her of ambitions once held dear. Yet as Sarah spoke, a creeping sense of dread took root in Martha's heart. The raw honesty of Sarah's struggles, the mounting bills, the choice between groceries or necessities, echoed her own fears of vulnerability. A storm of conflicting emotions raged within her, the desire to help battling fiercely with the fear of overstepping boundaries. Martha's mind raced with possibilities, awakening the buried determination she thought she had lost. She began to plot quietly, taking solace in being active once more. Just as she settled into her newfound purpose, a wave of unease crashed over her. What if revealing her support stripped Sarah of her hard-won dignity? The growing tenderness between them complicating her decision weighed heavily. Could she risk their budding friendship for the sake of charity? The thought twisted her stomach, a relentless cycle of worry. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Just as Sarah found her footing in classes, upheaval struck, her car broke down, and Martha witnessed the grim change in Sarah's spirit. The strain etched deeper lines into her face, the laughter replaced with furrowed brows and anxious glances. Martha's heart ached at the sight. She had tried to remain in the shadows, yet seeing Sarah's determination begin to crumble threatened her resolve. A scholarship opportunity flickered on the horizon, a potential lifeline for Sarah. But the doubt loomed larger than any glimmer of hope. Could the catalyst of relief also incite the collapse of their connection? Martha felt trapped at a crossroads, the fear of losing what they had growing more potent. The space between them felt charged, heavy with unvoiced truths, a tension edging toward a breaking point. With every anxious breath, the choice became more unbearable. How long could she let the silence stretch before the truth shattered the delicate bond they were forging? Martha sat in the dim light of her living room, engulfed in a storm of thoughts swirling around the decision she had yet to make. The scholarship, an opportunity blooming in her mind, felt tantalizing yet terrifying. It was meant to assure Sarah's path forward, but the risk of it crippling their budding friendship blared louder than the promise it held. The shadows seemed deeper as she contemplated the essence of support and dignity. Would her altruistic intentions be seen as patronizing? Each passing moment made the silence more unbearable. Martha's heart sank as she recalled Sarah's weary smile, once full of hope but now dimmed by anxiety. The vision of that determined mother striving for a better future surged through her veins, stoking the embers of her own dormant aspirations. Years ago, Martha had been a dedicated community organizer, her heart alive with a purpose she had since shelved. The slumbering desire for a meaningful connection ignited once more. How ironic that she, in the golden years of her life, could so clearly see a kindred spirit struggling, while she herself had been paralyzed by grief. Pushing aside the growing dread, Martha resolved to confront the silence that had stifled her for so long. Stepping outside with renewed conviction, she crossed the small expanse of their yards and gently knocked on Sarah's door. The warmth of the sun bore down on her, but it was the weight of her intent that propelled her forward. When Sarah opened the door, relief washed over Martha, mingling with anxiety. The lines of fatigue on Sarah's face softened slightly, but Martha could sense the apprehension in her eyes. She made haste to speak, words tumbling out like a cascade. "Do you think? Would it be too forward if I offered to help? I heard about a scholarship that could ease some of your burdens." Sarah's response was immediate, a mix of surprise and vulnerability emanating from her. "Martha, I don't want to take charity." The words were laced with defensiveness, yet beneath them trembled a thread of unguarded hope. Silence enveloped them again, but this time it felt different, palpable, charged with possibility. Martha's mind raced, focusing not on Sarah's potential refusal, but on the flickers of resolve illuminating her own motivations. Gently, she replied, "It's not charity, it's just friendship. We're in this together, aren't we? I want you to succeed." Timing felt crucial now. Martha glanced around, absorbing Sarah's chaotic yet cozy home. She noted the colorful drawings on the walls and the palpable love woven through the clutter. What could she offer that wouldn't erase Sarah's agency? A partnership, perhaps? "Let's brainstorm together," Martha proposed, her voice steadying. "If you like, I can help with the application process. Just think of it as two friends tackling something difficult, side by side." Sarah's brows furrowed momentarily, vulnerability cracking through her bravado. "You genuinely want to do this?" "Yes," Martha affirmed, realizing in that instant how pivotal this moment was for both of them. Their connection had morphed into something deeper, a sense of shared purpose circles around them. Little did she know that their collaboration would not only help Sarah pursue her dreams, but also reignite a dormant fire within Martha's soul, prompting her to rediscover her own abilities and aspirations. As Martha watched doubt flicker across Sarah's features, she realized that this moment could pivot the course of their lives. The unspoken truths that had bound them in silence were finally untangling, revealing the complex fabric of friendship woven together by authenticity and vulnerability. Yet, the stakes were high. Could Martha balance the act of nurturing while preserving the delicate dignity of their friendship? The air thickened with unspoken questions. Just how deep would their friendship reach when faced with the pressures of ambition and insecurity? The choices they both made now threatened to alter not just their destinies, but the very fabric of their connection, standing on the edge of unresolved tensions. As Martha awaited Sarah's response, she couldn't shake the feeling that their vulnerability was about to be tested in ways neither had anticipated. Would they both emerge stronger, or would the tightrope of emotions snap under the weight of their dreams? Martha watched as Sarah's expression transformed under the weight of the decision before her. The air felt charged, crackling with the current of unspoken hopes and fears. Sarah glanced towards the cluttered living room as though it held the answers they both desperately sought. "I appreciate the thought, truly," she finally said, her voice trembling, "but it feels like I'd be imposing on you." Imposing. The word struck Martha like an arrow. She found herself questioning if her generosity would become a burden, yet she pressed forward, unwilling to retreat. "You wouldn't be imposing. We'd be a team. Think about all the late nights you've spent worrying alone. I'm offering an extra set of hands, someone to share the load." Sarah regarded her, and for a fleeting moment Martha could see the flicker of acceptance in her eyes. You've already done so much. When was the last time she'd allowed herself to be vulnerable? The thought pierced through Martha's defenses, shrouded in the warmth flickering between them. Let me share some of that burden, not in a way that takes your agency, but as a friend who believes in you. Sarah's shoulders began to drop, and the tension eased slightly from her face. Martha could feel the connection evolving, intertwining their aspirations more tightly than ever. Yet, even as Sarah contemplated this bridge of friendship, shadows flickered of past judgment and unrelenting self-sufficiency. What if I fail? Sarah's words were barely a whisper, equal parts fear and defensiveness. Then we'll get up together, Martha stated firmly. Life is a series of steps. We stumble, we learn, we get stronger. With that declaration, something shifted in the room. The tension transformed into a shared understanding, a recognition of their fears and aspirations. Martha could see the barriers falling, layer by layer, and the intensity of the moment propelled her forward. She stepped closer, her voice quiet, yet unwavering. Let's take that step together. You're not alone in this. A fragile smile bloomed on Sarah's lips, a breath of hope emerging through doubt. Okay, she finally said, the word lingering in the air, filled with newfound resolve. As their plans began to take shape, sparking enthusiasm between them, the avenue for collaborative effort widened before Martha's eyes. They delved into scholarship details, application requirements, and brainstorming sessions. With each idea exchanged, Martha felt fragments of her own ambitions resurfacing, mingling with a sense of purpose that had long lain dormant. Yet amid the flow of ideas, Martha couldn't shake the sense of urgency enveloping her mind. What if their friendship could not withstand the pressure of expectation? The stakes were rising, and she recognized how their intertwined destinies were at play. Meanwhile, Sarah's uncertainties and passions flickered before Martha like a candle's flame on the edge. I don't know if I can do this, Sarah admitted again, her resolve faltering momentarily. Martha offered a gentle yet determined gaze. You can. You have the strength. If you can fight for your children, you can fight for yourself too. A breath hung between them, poised on the brink of choice, and Martha realized that she too was grasping onto a shared dream, a fragmented ambition to impact not just Sarah's life, but her own as well. Gradually, as they began mapping out steps to tackle the application process, a new determination coursed through Martha. She had set out to help Sarah rediscover her path, but now recognized an even greater self-discovery brewing within herself. Yet, with this new dynamism, came a disquieting fear. Could her emerging revelations overshadow the very foundation of their friendship? As the two women mapped out their role reversal, Martha sensed the shift in dynamics, understanding that soon they would confront an inevitable question. What would happen when ambition collided with the pure essence of their connection? The thought lingered ominously as they continued their plan. How far could they push the boundaries of friendship in pursuit of their dreams before crossing an unmarked line? The path ahead was uncertain, and the weight of expectation hung heavy in the air, ready to challenge everything they had begun to build together. Martha awoke the next day feeling the weight of the choices made. Curious about the turn their friendship had taken, she sat on her porch, coffee in hand, staring at the serene morning sky as a sense of urgency tugged at her heart. The sun rose boldly, promising new beginnings, echoing the spirit of her alliance with Sarah. Yet, with each sip, Martha wrestled with a dread that crept around the edges of her thoughts. It was time to confront what this new partnership meant, both for Sarah and her burgeoning self. The morning progressed, and the two women convened in Martha's living room, an informal war room for their ambitions. The space buzzed with activity, papers strewn across the table and laptops aglow. They tailored Sarah's scholarship applications, but Martha's stomach churned beneath the surface. Was she building a bridge, or was she erecting boundaries by offering her guidance? Have you thought about your resume? Martha asked, careful to maintain her supportive tone. Highlighting your teaching experience might really help." The way Sarah hesitated, her fingers drumming on the desk, told Martha that this was more than a simple task. It was like casting a light on her inadequacies. "I haven't done anything exceptional, Martha. It just feels bland. What if I'm not enough?" The words struck deep within Martha. This was unfamiliar territory, an admission that tore at her own insecurity. Were they both grappling with feelings of personal failure masked beneath layers of ambition? The thought hung heavily between them, a tethered threat poised to unravel their newfound connection. "You're far more than enough," Martha asserted, her voice steadying. Behind her conviction loomed the doubt of her own capabilities. She knew she risked overwhelming Sarah's fragile sense of self. "Start with the small things, the workshops, the community events you've led. Those matter." As Sarah began scribbling in a notebook, Martha's attention drifted to her own reflection in the living room window. The sunlight framed her face, illuminating the shadows of self-doubt that haunted her. In championing Sarah, she found her own voice, yet it twisted with fear, of being seen as an authority, of being viewed as comparing success. Was she stepping into a mentor role or nudging Sarah into a position of dependency? "What about you?" Sarah suddenly looked up, brows creased. "You helped me. But what do you want?" The question hung in the air, stark and piercing. A portal into Martha's own neglected ambitions. She had sacrificed her aspirations for stability, dulled by years of focusing on mundane responsibilities. What was she trying to prove by pushing Sarah? The realization sent her spiraling inward. Martha hesitated, grappling with the vulnerability of exposing her hidden desires. I want to inspire others, maybe even teach a class someday," she finally admitted, surprising herself with the authenticity of that longing. Sarah's expression softened. "Then why don't you? We can work on it together." A flicker of hope ignited within Martha. A simple question had just unveiled an unexpected act of kindness from both ends. They were not just teamwork. They were mirrors reflecting back forgotten parts of themselves. Could Sarah's success propel her own ambitions? The energy shifted, a camaraderie stitched together by the mutual understanding of pursuit. As the day progressed, Martha felt the weight of her own aspirations binding to Sarah's. But with the realization came trepidation. Could their ambitions coexist without straining their friendship to the breaking point? The clock ticked ominously as Martha's thoughts raced, escalating her anticipation. Each breakthrough was laced with the potential for conflict lurking just beneath the surface. How would they navigate their interwoven dreams without losing the essence of their connection? The moment hung, full of promise, but thick with doubt. Tomorrow would usher in new challenges, and with it, an imminent reckoning. Could both women thrive without compromising their bond in the relentless pursuit of success? The following day, the weight of their aspirations loomed larger. Martha's mind, still stirred by yesterday's revelations, felt like a canvas painted with confusion and resolve. As the sun spilled through the windows, lighting up the scattered papers and open notebooks, the intensity of potential hung in the air. Martha and Sarah gathered again, eyes bright with an unspoken agreement. This day was about more than just the scholarship forms. It was an exploration of their boundaries, their talents, and ultimately, their potential. "Let's start brainstorming ways to approach your personal statement," Martha suggested, determination sharpening her voice. "We can highlight what makes you unique." Sarah nodded but still seemed adrift, her gaze flitting around the room. "But what if no one sees my uniqueness? What if it's not enough for them?" The vulnerability in Sarah's words triggered something within Martha. "What do you believe makes you unique?" she asked, her voice softer now, encouraging yet inquisitive. As Sarah began to answer, a spark ignited. "Well, I've always loved helping my students understand complex concepts, and I started a few after-school programs aimed at inspiring creativity," she said, her voice growing stronger with each word. "That's incredible," Martha interrupted, her own passion igniting. How about framing that as your foundation? Something that drives your desire to teach. You're not just applying for funding. You're sharing a vision of engagement and empowerment. Encouraged by Martha's enthusiasm, Sarah leaned forward, jotting notes fervently. In that moment, Martha realized how she had reframed their interaction. Instead of simply guiding her friend, she was actively participating in a journey, a co-creation of dreams, rather than a mentorship of one-sided support. Seeing Sarah's confidence flourish invigorated Martha. Maybe this was her way of unearthing her own aspirations and tackling her insecurities. And we must not forget to connect your experiences with what you're looking to pursue in further education. Your story can resonate. Show how you will use this opportunity to grow. Martha began to evaluate her words carefully, observing how they mirrored her own hidden ambitions. The moment brought a visceral clarity. Her role was not to diminish or overshadow Sarah, but to elevate them both, to create a partnership that celebrated their ambitions without eclipsing each other. As they continued to work, a conversation unfolded about teaching methods, student engagement, and their shared experiences in the classroom. For the first time, Martha questioned her approach to her goals. Was she limiting herself with the fear of comparison? Could she view her aspirations as a possibility rather than a distant dream? "What about you?" Sarah asked, looking up again with intrigue. "What are your thoughts on pursuing your teaching dream? Have you thought about workshops or maybe hosting discussions at local community centers?" Martha felt her heart beat faster at the thought. "Maybe. I've considered it, but I often imagine that I don't have enough to offer." "Stop thinking that way. Just share your passion. People will connect with that," Sarah encouraged, her voice suffused with newfound urgency. Martha hesitated, aware of her fears entwined with her aspirations, but Sarah's belief ignited a small fire within her. "You're right. Maybe it's time to ease those fears and see where an exploration of my career can take me." With this shared commitment blossoming, Martha recognized that they were no longer just chasing dreams. They were inspiring change. It was a powerful realization that helped diminish her self-doubt, reshaping it into a proactive desire to pursue her potential. However, as they delved deeper into their projects, the shadows of uncertainty flickered at the periphery of Martha's mind. The feeling of jealousy also nudged its way into her thoughts. Was Sarah discovering her worth at the expense of their connection? Would Martha's own rise come at a price? The clock ticked once again, each second pulsating with lessons unlearned. And as they prepared to conclude the day, Martha was left with a revelation entrenched in her mind. A new ambition could ignite not just growth for herself and Sarah, but the potential threat of competition that loomed over their friendship. Tomorrow promised more than a continuation. It signaled a confrontation with their fears. Would they be able to hold on to their bond while racing toward their dreams, or would ambition fracture what had begun as a transformative partnership? Martha awoke the next morning, an energy pulsing within her. With a mix of excitement and anxiety, she prepared for another day of brainstorming with Sarah. The idea of pursuing her teaching ambitions had kindled a spark, but the fear of what might lie beneath that ambition lingered. Her mind raced with thoughts of how they would navigate this shared journey, balancing competition and camaraderie. As she brewed her morning coffee, she replayed Sarah's encouraging words in her mind. Just share your passion. Could it really be that simple? The question lodged itself deep within her thoughts, taunting her with self-doubt while igniting a desire to act. The sun poured into her kitchen, casting vibrant rays against the unopened books lined on her shelves. Titles on pedagogy and classroom management caught her eye, and for a moment she felt a pull toward the content within. Each book represented not just knowledge, but a piece of the teacher she aspired to become. Yet, the familiar feeling of inadequacy started to creep in. Who was she to teach, to share wisdom, when she was still grasping her own? Throughout the day, as Martha went about her mundane tasks, her mind gravitated back to Sarah's growing confidence. Each interaction felt like a reflection, echoing her fears and aspirations. She knew she had to confront those feelings head-on. It was no longer about merely supporting Sarah. It was about stepping into her own light. When she arrived at their usual meeting spot, a local cafe with cozy nooks, Martha's heart leapt at the sight of Sarah immersed in her notes. Sarah's focus and dedication radiated a joy that made her feel both inspired and overwhelmed. Was Martha prepared to dive into her own ambitions while supporting her friends? "Hey, Martha, I think I'm starting to get the hang of this personal statement," Sarah said, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. As they sat down together, Martha felt a flicker of determination cut through her uncertainty. "That's amazing, Sarah. I've been thinking, maybe I should also start jotting down my ideas for a workshop." Her gaze remained steady, trying to mask the flutter of doubt beneath the surface. Sarah's expression shifted from engaged to ecstatic. "That's the spirit. What's stopping you? You have so much to share." Martha swallowed hard, realizing that she would need to confront not just her fears, but also the jealousy that had begun to take root. "I guess I'd need to focus on what I have to offer rather than what I think I lack." "I can help," Sarah exclaimed. "Let's brainstorm together. You've got this." The excitement in her friend's voice fueled Martha's determination, setting off a chain reaction of thought. They dove into a conversation about workshop ideas. Martha remembered her passion for innovative teaching methods and how she had once transformed a struggling class into an interactive experience. As her memories flooded back, she felt the walls she'd built around herself beginning to crack. While they crafted potential outlines, a wave of fear washed over Martha. What if their ambitions no longer intertwined? What if their friendship faltered under the weight of competition? Yet she caught herself, admitting a crucial truth. Personal growth rarely thrives in the absence of discomfort. It demanded risk, and that risk was the path forward. "Let's make a pact," Martha said suddenly, half serious, half joking. "If either of us feels overshadowed or insecure, we'll voice it. No judgment." "Definitely," Sarah replied, a grin spreading across her face. With newfound resolve, Martha began drafting workshop ideas that sparked her energy. Each concept felt like a stepping stone away from her shadows, her doubts grounding into concrete plans. Talking through the possibilities became a rehearsal for what lay ahead. She could feel herself moving closer to the edges of her dreams. As the day wore on and they wrapped up, a question nagged at the back of Martha's mind. Were they truly ready to embrace this new chapter together, or was the competitive edge always going to lurk just beneath the surface? In the moment of shared laughter and brainstorming, the inkling of competition signaled a precariousness in their alliance. Could they maintain the trust and understanding amidst the shifting tides? Tomorrow, Martha resolved to take an even bolder step forward, an unexpected confrontation with her feelings. How would she navigate the waters of her dreams, and what further revelations awaited? Martha woke up the next day, a palpable shift in her resolve. Today, she would confront her uncertainties, and in doing so, carve out a path shaped by her unique aspirations. The sun's glow penetrated her window, illuminating the same shelves of unopened books that had inspired her the day before. They looked different today, beckoning her to delve into their wisdom, not just as resources, but as gateways to her developing identity. Her conversation with Sarah lingered in her thoughts. Could sharing her passion genuinely be enough, or was there more to this venture than merely exposing her enthusiasm? With a fresh cup of coffee in hand, the weight of her ambition settled over her, and with it, the burgeoning need to act. Today, she'd engage with the very feelings that her friendship with Sarah had stirred. Feelings of both solidarity and rivalry. The cafe was bustling when she arrived, the aroma of fresh coffee mingling with anticipation. As she scanned the room, searching for Sarah, Martha's heart raced. She needed to voice her thoughts candidly. Was this simple camaraderie going to evolve into competition without transparency? Spotting Sarah at their usual table, Martha took a deep breath and approached with a feigned casualness. "Hey, ready to brainstorm?" she began, though internally she was wrestling with the notion of whether their brainstorming would still feel collaborative or start to feel like a contest. "Yes, I've been thinking more about that workshop idea," Sarah replied, her enthusiasm infectious. "We could incorporate discussion elements to engage everyone. What about you?" Martha felt herself squirm under the weight of the conversation. "I actually wanted to talk about something first," she said. The words rushed. "I've been feeling a bit unsettled about us starting this journey. I think it's important to be honest. I'm excited for both of us, but I'm also afraid of our friendship getting lost in competition." The air between them shifted, tension coiling around their words like a viper. Sarah's brows knitted together, surprise evident in her eyes. "I didn't think you felt that way. I guess I'm a little worried about that too. But I think we can make it work." Their exchange began unraveling an unexpected layer of vulnerability. Martha pressed on, her voice steady. "I think we need to check in with each other regularly. I want us to celebrate our victories together, not feel like we're trying to one-up each other. We're working towards similar goals, and that should empower us, not tear us apart." Sarah nodded, her features softening. "I agree. I admire your passion, Martha. I wouldn't want to jeopardize our friendship either. Let's redefine our own definitions of success." As they continued to discuss their workshop ideas, a sense of clarity began to illuminate Martha's thoughts. They were not just creating plans for teaching. They were building a shared dream while nurturing a bond that could withstand the potential turbulence ahead. In the middle of the session, Martha presented one of her strongest workshop ideas, the innovative teaching methods she had devised years ago. The more she spoke, the more confidence radiated through her. It felt electric, the anticipation of not just what she could teach, but of whom she was evolving into. There was a fire within her, one that she realized had been dormant far too long. Yet even as her confidence grew, a nagging fear tugged at her consciousness. Was this newfound confidence genuine, or merely a reaction against feelings of inadequacy? With every word she shared, she was stepping deeper into unfamiliar territory. The competitive edge was still present, but rather than being paralyzed by it, she felt it transforming into a source of strength, a catalyst for personal development. Today was not about winning, it was about growth. As they wrapped up, Martha's mind raced with possibilities for how they could share their plans with a broader audience. The idea felt simultaneously thrilling and daunting. She could not shake the feeling of impending decisions awaiting her. Would they be enough to solidify this partnership, or would it all come crashing down as pressures grew? Tomorrow was an unknown, whispering, tantalizing possibilities. One question hovered before her. How would she transform this partnership into a platform for not just their teaching ambitions, but also their friendship? Martha awoke the next morning, her mind still racing from the brainstorming session with Sarah. The thrill of their conversation pulsated within her, infused with a mix of optimism and anxiety. Today was the day she committed to her vision of not only empowering others through teaching, but fostering a genuine partnership with Sarah. Yet she also felt the specter of insecurity looming. Could she truly balance ambition with integrity? As she sipped her coffee, Martha rifled through her notes. Every word she'd jotted down became a touchstone, reminding her of the goals she had articulated. They were no longer mere aspirations. They were pathways to deploying her creativity and skills. The feedback she had received from Sarah had ignited something within her. However, as the new ideas materialized, she couldn't ignore the palpable sense of dread that instilled doubt. What if her confidence faltered when faced with real challenges? In an attempt to quell her racing thoughts, Martha decided to enact one of the strategies she had learned during her education training: visualization. She closed her eyes, picturing herself standing at the front of a room, leading a workshop on innovative teaching methods. She rehearsed her introduction, the energy flowing from her as she engaged the audience with her passion. The image felt empowering, yet the pit in her stomach tightened at the realization that this was only a simulation. Determined to convert that energy into action, Martha picked up her phone and texted Sarah. "Can we meet earlier today? I want to go over some ideas before the workshop. She needed to explore her concept further, to define the limits of their collaboration. As they sat together later in the day, with coffees in hand and notebooks sprawled between them, a warm sense of camaraderie enveloped their workspace. Each idea that they discussed sparked enthusiasm, yet an undercurrent of apprehension twisted in Martha's gut. She wondered if her ideas matched Sarah's expectations. Was she adequately contributing to the partnership? Let's build a unique framework that not only highlights our individual strengths, but also integrates them, Sarah suggested. Martha felt a swell of gratitude towards Sarah's leadership, yet stifled the instinctive urge to retreat into self-doubt, the shadows whispering questions of worthiness. Instead, she seized the moment to stand firm. I completely agree, Martha replied. I want to take the lead on our session about motivating students. I think there's so much potential there. What do you think? Surprise flickered across Sarah's face, quickly morphing into a proud smile. I love that. You have a natural gift for engaging people. This is exactly what we need to focus on. There it was, a validation where Martha expected hesitation. A surge of electricity coursed through her, erasing most of the lingering doubts from earlier. As they continued to exchange ideas, details began to crystallize. They fleshed out content, formats, and themes. Martha's internal dialogue transformed, the hesitation replaced by conviction. She felt a steady rhythm taking shape in her mind, pushing her to the brink of a different realization. She was capable not just of facilitating knowledge, but also of redefining her role dynamically. With plans coming together, reality struck. This experience could set the tone for how she approached future challenges, not only in her career, but also in her friendships. Agreement transformed seamlessly into excitement, yet beneath that, shadows of doubt still lurked. Were they challenging each other in a constructive way, or were they on the verge of personal crises that could erode the foundation of their friendship? The meeting ended with a giddy air, yet Martha sensed she was still on the precipice of deeper fears about navigating their ambitions with care. What did it truly mean to balance competition and companionship? As the evening unwound, the need for clarity weighed heavily, gnawing at her mind. Tomorrow loomed large, threatening to reveal the true test of their collaboration. Martha would have to confront not only her own insecurities, but also the depth of her commitment to Sarah. Was she ready to embrace that challenge, or would her internal dilemmas sabotage everything she had worked for? The following morning cast a bright glow through Martha's window, yet the warmth of the sunlight did little to ease the chill of uncertainty that clutched at her heart. As she sat at the kitchen table, her coffee untouched, she reflected on the impending workshop, concern swirling around the idea of the collaborative presentation with Sarah. It wasn't just the presentation itself that unsettled her. It was the weight of expectations, both of others and of herself. Would she rise to the occasion or crumble under pressure? Martha's thoughts spiraled back to the visualization exercise she had practiced the day before. She could see herself on that stage, her voice steady, her confidence radiating. But transforming that vision into reality felt like a Herculean task. How could she walk confidently into a space filled with professionals from whom she sought approval? With each passing minute, her resolve began to waver. Pulling out her notes, Martha meticulously reviewed the outline she and Sarah had sketched together. Each section was infused with excitement and innovative ideas, yet doubts crept in, clinging to the edges of her mind like weeds in a garden. What if the ideas fell flat? What if her delivery failed to engage the audience? What if Sarah outshined her? To manage her swirling thoughts, Martha took a deep breath and repeated one of the key affirmations she had learned. I am capable. I am prepared. Emboldened, she reached for her phone and called Sarah. Her voice trembled slightly as she asked if they could review their presentation one last time. I just want to make sure we're aligned, she said, her determination to fortify her timid spirit shining through. The warmth in Sarah's reply buoyed her. Of course, it's good to double-check everything. When they convened later that afternoon, Martha felt the rush of camaraderie envelop her again, but this time she was more conscious of her own voice, ready to speak her truths. While Sarah opened the meeting with an encouragement-laden summary of their goals, Martha felt a bubbling surge inside her. Twofold nervousness and excitement mingled within. She wanted to contribute and shine, but a nagging doubt still lingered. "Let's each present our parts separately before the workshop," Sarah suggested. "We can give each other feedback." Martha nodded, her heart racing with anticipation and dread. The idea of having to perform on such a public stage was frightening. Yet, it was a necessary step. As Martha stood to present her portion about student motivation, she felt her previous apprehensions rise like tumultuous waves. With a conscious effort, she grounded herself, recalling the core of her passion for teaching. This wasn't just another presentation. It was about igniting that same passion in her audience. She opened her mouth, and the words flowed. As she spoke, she witnessed a transformation within herself. What had started as quivering uncertainty evolved into a powerful force of engagement. She seized on the connection with her invisible audience, bringing in anecdotes of shared experiences, laughter, and sincerity. When she finished, a sense of exhilaration washed over her. Sarah's approving nod encouraged her, but it wasn't just Sarah's affirmation that mattered. It was the realization that she could wield her voice with assertiveness. "Wow, Martha, that was amazing!" Sarah smiled brightly. Despite feeling vulnerable, Martha basked in the glow of accomplishment. However, as they stepped away to discuss the feedback, Martha couldn't shake the shadow lurking at the back of her mind. Would they be able to maintain this level of professionalism without their friendship being affected? Would the competitive stakes of the workshop draw lines between them? The applause they prepared to face would be for both of them. But what if one eclipsed the other? As she prepared for the next steps with Sarah, Martha knew the answers to these fears required introspective exploration. So much hung in the balance. The risk of failures loomed large, and with it, the possibility of phenomenal success. Tomorrow was not just another day. It would be the moment of truth, one that would unearth not only their professional capabilities, but the true depth of their friendship. Could they face both triumph and disappointment together, or would the pressure shatter what they had built? Martha took a deep breath, knowing that the foundation of this collaboration would soon be tested in a way she had yet to comprehend. The moment loomed, and she had to decide. Would it be the beginning of profound achievement, or would it reveal fissures she wasn't prepared to navigate? Martha approached the day of the workshop with a steely resolve wrapped in a fragile thread of anxiety. The sun hung bright overhead, seemingly unfazed by the storm of anticipation brewing inside her. Today was the moment she had both longed and dreaded for, a platform to showcase the hard work and creativity that had sparked between her and Sarah. As they arrived at the venue, the atmosphere buzzed with energy and excitement. The room was adorned with bright banners and tables covered in vibrant cloths, awaiting eager participants. For a moment, Martha was enveloped in disbelief. She marveled at how far she had come, once shackled by grief and apathy, now blossoming into a confident educator ready to reconnect with her purpose. Her past insecurities flickered like distant stars against the promise of what's to come. "Are you ready?" Sarah's voice broke through her reverie, laced with genuine encouragement. Martha turned to her friend, who looked equally determined. "I think so. Let's just give it our all." In that moment, Martha understood. This venture wasn't solely about her performance, but about their collective triumph. The weight of expectation transformed into a shared bond. They were no longer competing with one another. They were allies, pushing each other towards success. As they stepped to the front of the room, Martha felt a rush of adrenaline that eclipsed her doubts. Together, they opened the workshop with enthusiasm, hearts aligned in a singular mission to inspire. Martha began to speak about their methodologies, intertwining personal anecdotes with engaging activities designed to stimulate their audience's creativity. With each word, she sensed the fear that once paralyzed her loosening its grip, replaced by the thrill of impact. Through the eyes of her audience, she could see them leaning in, engaged and alive, reflecting back the energy Martha exuded. She couldn't help but smile, knowing she wasn't just reclaiming her identity. She was sharing her passion, encouraging others to explore their potential. At the conclusion of their session, as applause engulfed them, Martha shared a proud glance with Sarah. In that moment, Martha not only felt validated, she realized they had crossed a bridge of friendship fortified by ambition. They had cultivated an environment where they both thrived. "Can you believe we did it?" Sarah exclaimed as they stepped off the stage, joy spilling from her voice. "Yes, and we did it together," Martha replied, her chest swelling with recognition of their accomplishment. In the days that followed, both women received heartfelt feedback and invitations to collaborate on other initiatives. Martha's confidence skyrocketed, and she delved deeper into creating workshops, her vision taking form without fear. However, the ultimate realization cemented in her mind was far deeper than professional recognition. Martha no longer saw Sarah as a contender. They were collaborators, partners in a shared pursuit of growth. Their friendship, not competition, had birthed this achievement. One afternoon, over coffee, Martha casually mentioned an idea she'd had for a community class. "Do you think it could work?" "Absolutely," Sarah encouraged with enthusiasm. "You're amazing at this." With each collaborative opportunity, the barriers of doubt that had once lingered crumbled. Martha's growth reflected not only in her professional practice, but infused her personal life as well. She finally embraced companionship anew, no longer defined by her past loneliness. Martha stepped outside one evening on her porch, the vibrant sunset painting a canvas across the sky. She breathed in the crisp air, feeling a powerful sense of fulfillment. She wasn't just a retired widow lost in grief. She was a dynamic educator, a mentor, and most importantly, a friend. As she gazed into the horizon, a deep satisfaction washed over her. She had conquered her fears, achieved professional recognition, and forged a connection that inspired both her and Sarah to thrive. But as Martha embraced this new chapter, a powerful truth resonated within her. True fulfillment rests not in personal accolades, but in the uplifting of those around her. By supporting Sarah, they both discovered a renewed purpose. The once muted colors of her life had burst back into brilliant hues, a testament to the transformative power of connection. The journey from despair to achievement crystallized the essence of her identity, and she realized that the greatest victory wasn't just hers alone. It belonged to both of them. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, it was clear that Martha's story was far from over. This was just the beginning of sharing her voice and purpose and inviting others to find theirs. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below your reactions and theories about this inspiring ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.